analysis by death, right? Because one of the other things I've been thinking about is that people ask me questions like, do you think God is real? And a question like that always begs the question for me is like, well, what the hell do you mean real? Like, what makes something real? And, you could say tangibility, although that's only one dimension of what makes something real. It's like, I think what makes things real in the final analysis is probably death. And in the example you used of the silhouette, which is a very famous example with regard to birds, the silhouette traveling in one direction, that signifies death reliably, right, over a very long span of evolutionary history. And any creature that didn't respond to that silhouette was at a much higher probability of being picked off. So then one of the things you might note, and this is where the postmodernists got things like dreadfully wrong, and where the large language models have drifted into insanity. So imagine that there's a statistical relationship between concepts that's, okay, so then you might say, well, what gives that statistical relationship reality? And the postmodern types would say, well, it's just arbitrary cultural construction. But it's not, because there are patterns of relationships between events that are part and parcel of the world per se, and some of those need to be accurately mapped by the conceptual system, or you die. And so I would say the ideas that ring most true to us, that grip us in this sort of archetypal way, are ideas that bear directly on our survival, whether we recognize it or not. They strike a chord within us. Here's a good example. We'll shift sideways for a minute. Started to understand why
McCarthy era.
I'm on a tour right now with a wrestle with God, and it's focusing on biblical stories. I'm trying to explain. I'm trying to understand what they mean and then talk about that so other people can understand insofar as I'm able to. And one of the striking
Reading from Just for Today, August 20th. A slight matter of cooperation. The race was on. The shouts of the boys and girls could be heard for blocks around the public park. 6 or 7 boys of grammar school age were dashing down the dirt track. At the halfway mark, a small Negro boy was definitely bringing up the rear. He seemed to be slipping further behind, no matter how hard he tried. Then his lips began to move, as if he were muttering something to himself. Immediately he picked up speed, and in a few moments he was crossing the finish line ahead of all the rest. The winner! After the race, one of the spectators asked him what he was mumbling during the second half of the race. He answered, I was talking to the Lord. Lord, I said, you pick 'em up and I'll put 'em down. You just pick 'em up and I'll put 'em down. The simple faith of this little boy shows he was wiser in the ways of the Lord than most. He knew God will help us if we offer to try to do our share, even if it is the lesser part. For to every one that has shall be given, and he shall abound. Dear Jesus, help me always to do my part. August 21st, the 11th hour. Charlie was the most difficult prisoner in the death house. He had a short time to go, and he was determined to make the worst of it. He would talk to no one, and he swore at the chaplain. One day he suddenly had a change of heart and called for the chaplain. He wanted to make his peace with God. It was just as simple as that. The day before his execution, the chaplain heard that Charlie wasn't eating at all. He went to him and asked if he was sick. There is nothing wrong, said Charlie. I have just been reading all of that Christ suffered for me and other sinners. I'd be a sort of a heel if I went out without doing a little suffering. We should always keep the door open for every sinner to help him find his way back to God. Like the thief who was crucified beside Christ on Calvary, they may cooperate with divine grace before it is too late. The suffering of Christ can touch the heart of the most hardened criminal. This day thou shalt be with me in paradise. Luke 23:43. O Lord, have mercy on all who will die today. I guess that's good for now. We can read some more later. Thank you.